Review of the Zombie Strike Crossfire bow. Included is the blaster with the bow arms detached, a couple of green elite darts, and the instructions. I'll go over the externals, show you how it works, show you the firing, and then give you my opinion. Starting with the externals in the front. It is a front-loading spring blaster. You push in the darts like that into the barrel. There are 4 barrels that fire one at a time from top to bottom. However, if you only have a dart in, say, the 3rd barrel, it has a smart air restrictor which will only fire that barrel. The air source is located at the top, so the first barrel shoots a little bit harder than the bottom 3, but it's not too noticeable. I know that very clearly because I chronograph my blasters. To be clear, this does not shotgun all 4 at the same time. That would be pretty neat, but it doesn't. Down here is a sling attachment point. Up here is an iron sight. These things are the bow arms. They don't actually propel the blaster like a real bow. They're just there cosmetically, and this string bends and it's a nice elastic cord, so they don't actually flex while you're firing. So if you want to remove them, the blaster will still function and you can reduce the bulk. Up here is an in-strike tactical rail for scopes, optics, whatever you want, accessories. At the bottom, unfortunately, they did not put an in-strike tactical rail. They definitely have the space to do so, but they didn't for whatever reason. I think it'd be cool to have a nice little vertical grip there, or a flashlight or some other nonsense. But there's nothing there. And these little gaps in the shell don't actually have a function. They're just cosmetic. I guess you could use them as a mid-sling point if you have a giant carabiner on your sling. Otherwise, they're just there to look cool. Moving back, this orange thing is the priming mech. That's when you pull it back, the blaster is now primed. When you fire it, it is released forward. The action there is pretty smooth. I'm very impressed with that. It's easy to pull back and it fires very smoothly. There's not much mechanical friction or nonsense going on internally up in the front there. Moving back, the trigger is very basic, very large trigger guard, which I'm happy with, and it's just a basic spring trigger, very smooth. The grip is pretty comfortable, but it is on the smaller side. It does have this giant hand guard, which restricts how much hand you can get on the bottom of the grip there. I have a big hand, so I'm constantly complaining about that. However, this would impact people with a fat hand more so than long, skinny hands like mine. But if you're a regular-sized person or a child, you should not care about that. It'll work just fine. The grip also has this cool cutout. As you can see, the color's changing in the back. It's completely hollow there. I think it's really cool. Serves no function, it just looks neat. And down here is another sling point. And up top is a stock attachment point, which is compatible with in-strike stocks. Retaliator stock is not the best option because your hand doesn't actually have space to fit there. That's just to show stocks attached just fine. That's all of the externals. So again, how it works, you front load it because it is a front loading spring blaster. You pull back and then you fire. It fires one at a time. It does not shotgun from top to bottom. Chrono and firing tests. $70, $62, $64, $71, $63, $64, $56. So as you can see, it shoots along the same lines as all the other elite blasters and all the zombie strike blasters right now. Performance is on par, average, not really exceptional and not under par, which is nice. So to my opinion, like mini blasters currently, I can't complain about anything in particular except these silly bow arms, but that's just my opinion, that's completely subjective. But the function is pretty smooth, it fires on par, and the operation is surprisingly smooth. But I don't understand who would buy this blaster. It's very slow rate of fire, it only holds 4 darts, and for something of this size, 4 darts is not very much, especially with 6-round magazines currently are very low capacity compared to other things, so 4 is even less, which is just kind of underpowered for something of this size. And again, the rate of fire is pretty bad. Pump action is very fast, so if you wanted something similar to this in the same price bracket, the rough cut is the obvious option. You have 8 rounds instead of 4, pump action which is really fast, and slam fire which is an added bonus, and it's about the same size. So nothing wrong with this blaster. If you cosplay or you're going after a certain look or certain loadout, it is a well-functioning blaster, and I like it quite a bit. But usability in an actual Nerf game, not much. A rough cut or even a strong arm are better options. Higher ammo capacity, the same range, and easier function. Both of those are faster rate of fire and have slam fire. Leaving your hand up here is just slow. It does look pretty neat, so if you buy your blasters purely on looks, I can definitely see people buying this, but I usually go for function, want higher performing blasters, especially if I'm actually playing Nerf games. This is just not one of them, so I can't really recommend it. So that's my review, thanks for watching. They're actually symmetrical on all of the front planes here, so air travels around the dart in a very similar manner, so it's consistent. And more importantly, the cost. Back when streamlines were sold in 100